Ms. Cohen, the presumption of innocence is guaranteed constitutional right. Many times in the public are presented data, names, details of the pretrial process or the charges, even without the procedure being conducted. That way people are found guilty by the public even before court proceedings are instituted. What is the boundary that must not be passed before passing the verdict?
Well, our system really does take very seriously the presumption of innocence. And when reporters report on a case, even an indictment is only an accusation. It's far from a conviction. And so our reporters are instructed to refer to the defendant or the suspect. Crimes are alleged. We're very careful in the way we speak about a defendant or a suspect. And my understanding here is when an indictment comes down and there are initials used, everybody sort of knows who it is anyway. So I think our system is perhaps a little more upfront and honest about it. Nothing is hidden, but we still take that presumption of innocence very seriously. And don't forget, we have jury trials.
The next question is related to the transparency of the judicial institutions. The public very rarely has information from the court or the judge, and usually there is no information concerning the decision-making facts. Which model of transparency should be applied in these situations?
Our courtrooms are very open. Anyone can walk into them. If I'm a journalist just with a notebook and paper, I can go anywhere, anytime. But we also, through the Judiciary Media Committee that I sit on, a committee of our Supreme Judicial Court, we've come up with rules and regulations on use of cameras in the courtroom by journalists. They are regulated. You can only have one video camera and one still camera, but still, those cameras open up the courtroom. We become the eyes and ears of the public in every courtroom. And the more open our courts are, the more the public has trust in what goes on in that courtroom.
How much knowledge of law is needed, for example, legal definitions, legal legislation, so that journalists can provide quality information about the area of law?
Well, I think both here and back in the United States, there's nothing more complex to cover than to cover the courts, and especially the criminal justice system. So some of our younger reporters have needed a bit more educating around those issues. And what we've done through the Judiciary Media Committee is set up a law school for journalists. And I know there's going to be one here. There's going to be at least one and maybe another one later in the spring. It's a way for less experienced reporters to become at least familiar with the terminology, with procedure. I attended a law school for journalists perhaps about 20 years ago, and it was eye-opening.